Happy Hump Day, everyone. It's Wednesday afternoon. You know what time it is. It is time for the Do What Is Necessary live stream coming to you live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So welcome to your Wednesday therapy session. Glad to have you with us this week. So let me know where you're watching from. Let's just get that out of the way. Where are you tuning in from? What part of the world? This is a global show. We've got folks that tune in from all over the world every week, and that is just such an amazing thing to be able to take this passion project of mine that I started 2 weeks after COVID. We went into lockdown here in the States. That's when I started this pet project of doing this on a Wednesday, just to give us a moment of levity, a moment of clarity in the middle of our work week. So let me know where you're tuning in from, and if you could also let me know what is the one thing that you're most grateful for today as you watch this broadcast, as we're into the November and almost ready to close out this dumpster fire of a year we call 2020. So I'm thankful for a lot of things. I'm grateful that I have a measure of health. I'm grateful that all my family is healthy. And the most grateful thing that for me this week is that I get to do this show for another week. Because like I said, this is like therapy to me. So I'm excited that you took the time to hang out with me. So let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know if this is your first time with the show. Put that in the comments. Wherever you happen to be watching from, whatever platform you're watching from, drop that in the comments. Be sure to tag me so that I can definitely make sure that I follow up. Because last thing I want to do is lose any comments from our great viewers. So thank you to those who are tuning in week after week. We missed the show last week. I was in the middle. We recorded 31 videos last week. So I've got some amazing things coming up for entrepreneurs, for anybody that's looking for a leg up in business. We've got a lot of good things that we're just about ready to pull the lid off of. So I'm super happy. So thank you to those who watch this show week in and week out. High five to you. I'm grateful that you take the time every Wednesday to get your therapy session and for us to sit and hang out and chat. So thank you so much. So let me know you can hear me okay. Let me know that everything in the video is coming across loud and clear. So while we're waiting on that, I just want to thank our sponsor. So if you're curious to know what platform we're using, we use Restream, and we came on board with them this week. They're going to be joining us as a sponsor of the show, so I'm super excited about that. We've been using them since day one to be able to stream to various platforms, especially we started on LinkedIn, and we've blossomed out from there. So thank you to them for coming on board. Thank you for hanging out with us this week. So thank you, Corey. Corey's joining us. And I've got some good things, Corey. So thank you so much for being a guest on our show a few weeks back, joining us today. Because I'm actually going to be highlighting some of the work that you're doing and those of you that you happen to be working with as well. Coming up in our Orange Spotlight, so stay tuned to that. So if you're just joining us, like I said, put that down in the comments that this is your first time joining us. So if you don't know who I am and this is your first time and you've actually found the Do What Is Necessary live stream, I am the founder of Orange Nomad. I ran a tech company for the last 20 or 30 years, but now I'm all about helping hustling entrepreneurs become calm, effective, visionary, unstoppable CEOs, to stop the hustle and grind and to build a calm company. And that's what this show is completely dedicated to. This is a weekly live stream dedicated to all things related to entrepreneurship, technology, work-life alignment, and leadership. This is a show that's dedicated to you in succeeding in business and life and throwing out all of the hustle, the grind, work your face off, sacrifice everything mentality that's out there. This is about doing what is absolutely necessary for you to have success in your business life and in your personal life. And that's my mission, to help you create a calm life and create a calm company. So thanks for hanging out with me this week. So those of you just joining us, let us know in the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from, what part of the earth you're watching this broadcast from. And if you happen to be watching this after the fact, let me know as well. I'm always curious to know how people find us, where people are tuning in from. I think it's just an incredible thing. So So let's dive into the meat of our show this week. The topic of our show this week is about staying connected to meaning in your work. And I think for all of us, that has changed this year. That perhaps the meaning that we have in our work may have gotten lost. That the meaning, the reason, the why we got in business may have gotten lost. And I know that was a challenge for me with my last tech company, running that for 10 years straight, running flat out 70, 80 hours a week. That towards the end of it, I'd lost that joy. I'd lost the fun of being in business. And you'll notice this live stream, my wife tells me I'm a little too intense, so I'm a pretty fun, kind of go with the flow, but I can be pretty intense. But let's talk about that. How do we get that back? How do we stay focused on meaningful work despite, like I said, the dumpster fire that this year has been so far across the globe? And we're not quite done with this year. So it's easy to lose that meaning. There's so many things that get in the way. If you're not running a company and you're working for somebody, is that I have seen more than anything else this year, is people second guessing or reevaluating and reassessing things in their life, reassessing what they do for work and why they do it. And I just saw an article, I wanted to put that up here, it came up yesterday. NPR said that it's been a record number of startups here in the United States, and that's no surprise. Some of you may have been forced into that after losing a job. Some of you, this was just kind of the kick in the pants that you needed to finally take that idea and bring it to life. And, but the drudgery and the meaningless task, once we get into those things, it's easy to lose that. We get stuck in task mode. And that's a super challenge for me, because once I kind of go into work mode, you kind of put your head down and pop your head back up. And sometimes it's much later, and sometimes, you've missed a few things. So how do we deal with that challenge? How do we deal with the challenge of taking what could be and what sometimes is meaningless tasks and the drudgery that sometimes we get when we get stuck in work mode? How do we change that? So, and that's what I want to talk about in our first segment this week, is how do we define meaningful work? How do we get back to that? And how do we, what things can we put in place to be able to combat that? And that was important for me. Again, as I sat down, especially last week, I thought about this as I was preparing this week's show, that, why do I do what we're doing right now? And yes, I went into task mode last week. We sat down, cranked out 31 videos for a new course, 100-page workbook. But then I thought about it. There's got to be more in life than just getting paid. And there's got to be more to life than just because it's in my inbox or my boss tells me to do it, or because other people are waiting on me to do it. There has to be a deeper reason. There's got to be a bigger reason. Otherwise, work becomes just that. It becomes drudgery. It becomes meaningless. And that's what we want to stop. And I think it's a time, too, for us as entrepreneurs to kind of evaluate things this year more than ever. It's been tough. It's been tough on us as entrepreneurs. It's been tough on our people. And sometimes that's, we're stuck just in survival mode, trying to survive, that perhaps maybe we're creating that environment of meaningless drudgery for those working for us. So it's how do we change that? How do we get back to feeling meaningful? How do we get back to being inspired? And that right now is my goal over the next, rest of the show, for one. But the remainder of this year, as we plan into next year, is being able to sit down and help entrepreneurs get that fire back. Because I do a lot of coaching, and that's usually the first thing that I ask people is, why did you get in business in the first place? So if you're on this and you own a company, why did you get in business? Put that in the comments. So thank you, Robert, for joining us. Robert Givens from the UK, joining us again as our repeat guest. Thank you so much for coming back and tuning in every week. So why do you do what you do? Why do you care about doing what you do? And that's usually one of my first questions when I get on a call, kind of an exploratory discovery call with a new coaching client, is that's usually when folks come to me, because that's what I'm about, taking that hustle, grind, meaningless sense of work out of it and putting meaning back in. Why do you care to do what you do? And there's lots of possible answers, and it kind of runs the gamut as I've coached folks, because some of the things that people will tell me is because they care about helping people, or they want to make a change in the world that feels powerful, or they want to help people who are struggling or in pain. And that's why I do what we do, is to help people that are struggling and take that to getting that fun back in your life, that joy back in your life. Some people want to, it's an act of love for themselves. That's why they do what they do. It's therapy for them. And that's, for me, that's, as I mentioned at the top of the show, that's why I do this show every week. This is therapy for me. To be able to get on here, talk about subjects that a lot of times nobody wants to talk about. And to talk about things that need to be put out there. Because we as entrepreneurs don't talk enough about the things that are most important to us. And this is really the heart of it. Why we do what we do is super important. And, I think getting back to that. And the most meaningful reasons, that's what they always come about. It always comes back to that. That people who get in business, they do that because they want something greater than themselves. They want to be something greater than just it being about money or themselves. And that's why people a lot of times come to work for us. They get behind that passion, that dream that we have as entrepreneurs, and they want to be a part of that. So now it's the time for us to get back to that, is to get back to that meaningful part and get clear on why we got in business, why we do what we do, and get back to that connection with our work and feeling that connection in our work. So let's talk about just 3 things as I prepared this and just sat through what are the easy things to get back to. What are easy things that we can do right now to get that sense of connection back? And I'm not a therapist by any stretch of the imagination, but I want this to be kind of a pause, a moment in time to think about that over the next couple of weeks and couple months as we finish out this year. And just, knowing why something is meaningful isn't really enough. We tend to forget that. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we tend to forget that when we get into doing mode. When we go into task mode, we tend to forget why we do things. So what can we do? Having points in our day where we can connect to that meaning is a great way to do that. And having a deeper why. And having a deeper sense of why we do things. And as we just mentioned, that your why could be a lot of different things. But getting back to that connection is super important. I talk about this for me, this is one of the things that I'm trying to change right now, and I don't do it perfectly, and that's really what this show, we're never going to get everything perfect, but it's about the recognition of that and practicing and getting good at things that we're not good at. So having points in your day where you connect to that meaning and where you kind of just take that time, and that ritual could be anything for you. And some of the ideas that people have given me is 2 to 5 minutes of meditation in the morning or in the evening where they visualize the people they care about. And they think about that. They practice connecting to the hearts of people that they care about. And I thought that was a great point there. Having a devotional practice where you think about the struggles of the people you're helping and devote your work to them. And that's one of the things I started doing a couple months ago is I walk every morning, and that's what I think about, my greater purpose. How do I get back to having peace in my life? Because it's infectious when you're peaceful, your people are peaceful, your family's peaceful. So having whatever type of practice that comes in for you, whether it's walking, jogging, it doesn't have to be physical exercise. It could be anything. The other thing I thought of, and was people have given me some tips too. They have a photo that they look at on their desk, a vase of flowers, a candle, they have some type of object around them that when they see that, that's an instantaneous reminder to pause and to reflect. And I'm a pretty minimalist guy. The only thing that I really have on my desk, I've got this is a bookmark that I picked up a couple years ago, and camera's probably not going to zoom on it. It's a bookmark that I keep on my desk. And that is a reminder for me. And the bookmark is the Japanese symbols for patience. That's one of the qualities I still struggle with, is staying patient. But the message on it, the greatest power is often simple patience. So that's my reminder. That's my visual, tell, if you will, to get back to reality. And for me, that is why I do what I do, is to affect people and touch people in a very deep way, other than just, helping them with their business. And I think there's so much more to it. But just taking a short moment to pause and to think about that, why you start things, whether it's writing something down before you start doing anything, is to go back and just take a moment to pause. Why do you do what you do? And what message can you convey, whether that's answering a message online, replying to an email, a voicemail, whatever that happens to be. Why you do what you do. And I think coming from that place allows us the time we need to reconnect. And I think it's super important to do that every day. And sometimes, again, we get into task mode where we forget, and sometimes we don't quite get it right for today, but that's where we can restart tomorrow. So if you have something like that, if you have a ritual that you have in place that kind of grounds you and centers you, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, drop that in the comments. And again, if you're watching this on replay, put that in the comments as well. Because again, I think this is important for the community to talk about this and to really get that out there and to share the experiences that we have at a human level. That everything's not about, running business and making bank all the time. It's about the people, the relationships that we establish in life. So yeah, please drop that in the comments if you would. Give me a thumbs up, if that's something that you agree with, taking that time. But I think, the third thing for me is practice connecting to meaning. And I think that's really, when we first learn to ride a bike, we don't get it right. We crash, we burn, we get the skin face, skin knees, skinned elbows. But we don't stop riding. We get right back on the bike and we ride. And we get that figured out. And it's the same here. We're not going to get it right. There's going to be days, there's going to be weeks where just everything hits us and we forget. We forget to practice having that real sense of meaning in our work, in our life. So what do we do? That for me is, I think about that as, like I said, when I go on my walks to start my day, I think about that. I picture the people that I want to help that day. I picture the difficulties, the struggle, the pain, the fear that people have. And how do I build happiness in their heart? How do I build happiness in their business? And it's just about that practice. Over and over and over again. We just practice those things and then we get good at it. It's just coming back to that meaning over and over and over again. And for me, that's, again, I didn't want to be all therapy, hopefully you don't need therapy after this first part of our show, but I think it was super important right now, is with all the craziness that we see going on, to take that time to pause and reflect and get back. And if you're doing a job, you're working for somebody who doesn't inspire you, if you're working for a company that doesn't inspire you, where you don't have any meaning in work, that's the neat thing about life, is we have the ability to change that. We have the ability to make that decision to change. And that's where I think, this show's all about, is those of us that can help people, that can help people mind the pitfalls of starting their own business or going out on their own, that's what we're here to do, that we're here to help people. So, again, that's my therapy session for the first part of our show this week. And again, it just, like I said, I thought about just some of the topics, the things I come up with on a weekly basis, the things we put in the show are things that, I'm deeply passionate about, and that I think will do the most good. And that for me was one of them is getting back and just remembering why we do what we do. So if you agree with that, if there's another tip or trick that you've come up with along the way, those of you who are watching the show and after the fact, let me know. If there's something I didn't cover or something you want to share that has helped you, please do that. Drop that in the comments. So let's move to the next segment. I always do, instead of spring cleaning, that's one of the things I started doing. I did it here a couple weeks ago here in the studio, is just cleaning stuff out. And once I kind of got into task mode, you start just weeding stuff out. But I started thinking about, not just physical things in the studio, things in your office, but just think about, the things that cause stress in my life, the things that cause people stress. And again, I see in comments that people post online, but I just wanted to give some tips and tricks that I've used and some others that I've shared with me on how to clean that out so that we can de-stress our life. And that's really what this part of the show is about, is just different tips and tricks that might help do that. We get so caught in task mode a lot of times during the day, during the week, that we don't clean that clutter out that's maybe in our inbox or in Microsoft Teams or Slack. All of those unread messages, that's a sense of stress to me when I come in and see red bubbles on my phone, or you see a bunch of emails, or you see a bunch of messages. It's just taking that time, and that's one of the things that I do at least every couple days if I don't do it daily, is just to clean everything out, because that just gives me a sense of relief, sense of calm, that if I don't have to deal with it today, that I don't. And I have a place, a system to be able to do that, to file that off, to be able to deal with it later. But it's just getting all of those things cleared out. And one of them may be just turning off notifications too, so you're not alerted to all of those red bubbles when you look at your phone. I'm obsessive compulsive, and I know I'm not the only one out there. So if you're like me and you hate the red bubbles, put that in the comments. But again, it's just carving out that time, that space where we're not so booked with time that we forget to do that. Having a day every week where you read through your read later lists. And again, what that is if I'm looking through LinkedIn comments, or I'm looking at articles online that I don't really have time to go back and read, that I tag them, and I have a place I use Feedly to go back and read those things. But I have a day a week where I do that. And that could be daily for you. That could be just a few minutes in the morning, a few minutes in the evening, just detoxing, reading through those things, getting caught up. But again, it's just clearing out that clutter, because when you know those things are hanging out there, it's stressful. And I hate that stress. But we as entrepreneurs are super bad about doing that. It's not taking the time to go back and readdress things in our life, cleaning those things out. Having a day to get small admin tasks that pile up. And that could be a couple half days, whatever works for you. That was a tip that one of my coaching clients gave us, that's what he does. He takes a time on, I think, Saturday late afternoon, after he's spent time with his family. He's doing those things where his kids are off doing musical practice, that he takes those times and gets those admin tasks, those things that he maybe couldn't give hand off to his virtual admin, those things that he just has to do himself inside of his office. But that's what he does. A time on the weekend for taking care of small chores, repairs, the things you didn't have time to do during the week. But again, it's just about making the time, carving those things out, getting those things cleared off your task list. And I think and again, we've got a little more time than we used to, so that might not be a problem for you. A couple more things is, this is one of the things I started implementing a while ago, it's done an amazing thing for getting my week off to a good start. Where Sunday evening, I do a weekly review. I take care of all those piles of things that are to-do list, project list. I make sure everything's updated, and then I kind of set what my priorities for the week are. But everything's in order on Sunday evening. That way, when I wake up Monday morning, that I'm ready to hit the ground running. So, again, just a few tips or tricks if you have things that work for you for cleaning things out. But I think this is a good time to clear out the head trash, clean out the things that pile up and cause us stress and get us distracted and knock us off kilter. that we get those things out, taking that regular time to clear things out. So that's what this session was, part of today's live broadcast was about, just taking that time to kick stuff out. So if you watched the show previously, Robert, those of you who are just joining us for the first time, one of the things I like to do every week is I have an Orange Spotlight segment on our show where I either highlight a product that makes life easier, I make a service, but it's more importantly, the thing we highlight the most is things that people are doing that I think are awesome, things that people are doing that I think are incredible, that I want to shine the spotlight on and make sure that everybody that I possibly can make aware is aware of it. And Corey, if you're watching the show, if you're still with us, Corey Munson was on the show a few weeks ago, and in his LinkedIn feed this week, that's where I found this video. He did an interview about an IT provider that's doing awesome things despite the situation that we're in right now with COVID. So here's a brief snippet of his interview, but I want to highlight this just totally incredible thing that this person is doing. So let's watch the clip.
I think we have to reshift a couple of things, especially with help desks in school districts. So what I did was I actually opened up a Genius bar. The Genius bar was for parents, children, but and staff. My biggest concern were the families, right? So we have some families that are not technology literate nor savvy, and now we're kind of forcing grandmothers raising some of these grandkids, and she really don't know what to do. Where is the training coming? How do we actually prepare them and give them the professional development? Because I believe the child's success is sometimes determined on the parents. If the parent get frustrated, the child will get frustrated. So with this Genius bar, one thing we were able to do was do something that technology people normally don't do, and that's put customer service first, right? So we had to be able to bring that customer service element, show them that they were not going through this alone, because that's one of the biggest fears for everybody. We're alone doing this, right? How do you show the unity that you have something here?
So Terry, I just wanted to give you a warm congratulations. And thank you, Corey, for pointing out, a problem that not all of us think about if we don't have kids that are struggling with that, or we don't have, this problem's not ours to deal with. But I think that is somebody who is living their why. And Terry, congratulations for being awesome, because I think I've always been about helping the underdog. I've always felt like the underdog. And I love to see people like her that fight for the underdog as well. They fight for the underprivileged. They fight for those who, might be having a tough time. And especially right now, it's not a problem that I would have necessarily thought about. But Corey and I have had some discussions on that, about the challenges that work from home and schooling from home has brought to parents, and as the grandparents who might be helping raise kids while their parents work, while they try to support themselves during this difficult time. So I've reached out to Terry, and I'm going to have her on the show hopefully here in the next couple weeks. But I wanted to spotlight, I have a link in the show notes to this conversation that Corey had with Terry. So please connect with her. Please connect with Corey, because thank you, Corey, for spotlighting and highlighting great people like Terry. And I'm glad to know her. We reached out and had a brief conversation virtually yesterday. But again, I hope to have her on the show real soon. So thank you. My applause to all the great things that people like her are doing. That she gets her why she does what she does. And she lives it. So that's awesome. So the last part of our show is Q&A. So if you have a question, if you're watching the show after the fact and you have a question that you would like for me to answer, either on the show or privately, please put that in the comments, reach out to me. But I like to take this time every week to answer questions that people have. And I think that, I seem to get a lot of questions about. I try to highlight those because you may have that same question yourself. But again, the coaching, the training that we do, this was one that has come up a lot, and going back to a lot of folks in startups, This is a question that has come up a lot. When you're in startup mode, trying to figure out how to market your business, how to build a network, how to get clients, all of those fundamental things that stress startups out. And this was a question that came in. I saw my company is only 3 to 4 months old, so he started this right in the middle of COVID. Haven't lived in the city very long. Do you suggest buying marketing lists? And he was talking specifically about trying to build his business. So my recommendation there, and this is, I go back to a lot. If you know, a lot of people may be connected to me through my LinkedIn training, and you'll know that I'm a heavy proponent of LinkedIn, because for me, that is the largest self-updating database in the world. So I'm not about starting out and spending hundreds of dollars on a marketing list that may be outdated. So again, this was my recommendation to him. This is my recommendation to anybody who might be starting out, is take the time to start on LinkedIn. Start with your free account. You don't have to pay for anything. Start getting connected to people in your city. Start connecting to business people. If you're just starting out, there's no harm in that. People know. People want to help. You'll be real surprised how much people really want to help. So connect with people and ask them for that. As somebody who is an established business owner here in whatever city you're in, I'd love to connect and possibly be able to share your ideas about how to build my business. So ask for help, get for help, and you'd be surprised how much those conversations lead to other things and how much people will help you build your business, especially if you have a good enough why, and that comes across in these conversations. So that was the recommendation that I gave. Don't buy a list. Start on LinkedIn. And if you're just starting a business, you have the time. You have the time. If you spend an hour or two every day making connections with people, commenting on their posts, making meaningful conversation with people online, you'll be very, very surprised how much that blossoms. And that over time, by doing that, you can actually build a network without buying a list. And then, my obvious recommendation is to, as you up your game, as you bring clients on, to, go to a paid version of LinkedIn, because it allows you so much more. It allows you more capabilities for being able to search and do connections, all that fun stuff. So that's my recommendation on how if I were to go build a startup today, that is exactly where I would start. I would start with LinkedIn and connect with other business owners, other business executives in your area, and get tips from them. Get the help, because again, people are much more accepting to helping people ever before than I've ever seen. Because again, we all face a lot of the challenges together. So thank you so much for watching the show this week. That brings everything to a wrap for me this week. I'm happy that those of you who are still hanging out with me. Please, if you're watching this after the fact and you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Let me know. Show me some love in the comments, wherever platform you happen to be watching this from. But let me know. Let me know what is the one thing that you got from this week's show, and what is your number one takeaway from this week's show. And for me, it's just going back and thinking about where we're at as we start to plan out 2021, in our own company, and as we help others, that we don't forget that. We go back to, we rewind and think about why we got in business in the first place, why we do what we do, and how important it is to take that time, take the necessary time. And right now we've got that to be, as we start planning out, like I said, 2021, we've got the time to plan that out. So let me know, and like I said, in the comments, your number one takeaway from this week's show, or if there's a topic that you would like us to cover in the show, please let me know. But I would be super honored too if you liked. But if you found this of value, and please tell your dog, tell your neighbor, tell your friends, tell a business colleague, send it to somebody. But I would very much appreciate it and be honored if you could share this and share what we're doing here and what we're trying to build with the Do What Is Necessary live stream. And this is about uniting entrepreneurs around the globe as we move forward and helping each other. So thank you so much again for hanging out with me this week. I am honored that, those of you who keep coming back week after week, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to wrap this. This is Andrew Moon, Orange Nomad. This show is all about doing is what is necessary. So always stay humble and kind. And every day, every single day, do what is necessary for you. I'll see you on next week's show.